Hey guys, welcome to our training tonight. I'm just going to introduce Karen. She is coming to talk to us tonight about sponsoring, which is a hot topic today and every day in our business. Karen is, I like to call her an OG of Cincy, but me and her officially met at Summit, and she is just the no excuses, get it done type of person that I love. So I asked her to come and speak to us tonight and just tell us about how she sponsors and how that changed for her here recently. She's been around since 2008 with Cincy. So how amazing is that? She promoted an SSD in 18 months. She's always been paid at title, which is so cool to be able to say. She was the shining star in 2012, which I did not know that. So that is even more cool. She's a mom of 3. And I just thought it was interesting when she shared this with me that they were so small when she joined. They were 3, 7, and 11. And now they're 17, 22, and 26. So literally Cincy is all they know. So I just love that so much. Cincy, Steve, her husband works Cincy full-time with her and has since he retired from the Marines in 2012. And I said it before we started recording, but she splits her time between Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Loveland, Colorado, which is super cool. I've never been to Colorado, but we do have some leaders out there. She said that Andy Teeter said it best last week when she said that a nice car and a big house are the old status symbols. The ultimate flex now is the freedom. Time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, and that's exactly what this business has given her. So I'm going to turn it over to Karen. Just let her take it away.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Just shake your head. Yes, no. Okay, perfect. Oh, wow. I'm on the big screen. Awesome. It's my favorite. And by that, I mean, it's not, but it's cool. Okay. So I just wanted to talk. So thanks for having me. I talk a lot, so feel free to cut me off, interrupt me, whatever you need to do. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I've had a little bit of a mindset shift and how it's benefited my business and my sponsoring. And you just heard a little bit about me. I'm going to just, if you'll stick with me for a couple minutes, I'm going to tell you just a little bit more of the backstory so that you kind of understand how chaotic my life is sometimes. Because I mean, honestly, like, have any of you had an easy couple of years? Like, honestly, has life been easy for any of you? Like, I mean, I don't think there are many people that would say that the last few years have been easy for them by any means. And I would say the same for us. So as I said, I've been through hypergrowth too, you guys. So you guys have come out of hypergrowth. You're in kind of a normalization period. I can promise you we survived that and we thrived afterwards. So there is hope. Don't quit on a bad day. Don't quit when things get tough. There is hope. It will go back up. So don't stress about that. But, and I've been through a lot of seasons in my business. So there have been times where I've been like a really strong recruiter. And then there's been times that my sponsoring has just literally been in the gutter. Our life has been crazy. My husband, it's not my oldest, he's my husband. He's combat injured. He retired from the Marine Corps in 2012, and he does work full-time with me. Now that is a blessing and a curse. Like, we're together 24/7, right? He went from being combat deployed to home all the time working with me. In fact, one day he actually, like, we're in our house in South Carolina, and he pulled up like this little desk, a piece of wood extension to the end of my desk. And like, he was clamping it down. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going to work right here. I was like, that's like 1 foot from me. No, you're not. And he was like, well, I am, because every 3 minutes you're like, hey, babe, can you come here and listen to this? Or can you come look at this? And so now I'm just going to pivot around the corner and look. So it's been an acclimation working together. But and then my youngest, who's 17 now, he has a really complicated medical history. And this business has been a huge blessing to us because of it. He's had 17 brain surgeries since 2015. Okay. Now, the last couple of years have gotten even a little more complicated. My husband had a heart attack, a major heart attack. He was in his 40s, had a major heart attack in 2021. And we've had 3 parents pass away in the past 19 months. And none of them were local to us. So, but this business actually has been a blessing through all that, because we could work from anywhere we needed to. We still had commission coming in. And like I spent most of the last year with my mom, helping her kind of acclimate, adjust, move. And then the parents just keep dying, unfortunately. Not my mom. I told her she's not allowed to die anytime soon. So, but let me tell you about the mindset shift I've had. So that's a little bit about my background, just so you know, like I'm not saying any of this from my life is super easy, simple. I'm always in one place. Life is easy. I work in front of a computer all the time. Like I've had to pivot and work on the go. And I know many of you kind of live that life as well. So hopefully not with like 3 dying parents, that kind of thing, but hopefully, but I know that like life is chaotic is what I mean. So, okay, so there's something I do in my business every 6 months, and we've done it for years. My husband is, he's a retired Marine, and he is like a systems guy. Like if I'm doing something repeatedly, he's like, well, we should create a system for that. And he's right. But one thing I do is I analyze my business every 6 months, and we've done it forever. So I take a good look at what's working and what's not working, because sometimes like what my heart wants to work isn't really what's working in my business, right? Sometimes I like continue down a path, putting time, energy, and money into something that isn't really bringing a benefit. So every 6 months, I do a quick checklist of a whole bunch of different areas of my personal business. And is it working or is it not? And it's just a yes, no, it's great, it sucks, whatever the case may be. And what I noticed, and then usually the goal is to do something about that. But what I noticed for multiple 6 months, so like probably 18 months, my sponsoring, my personal sponsoring was like a big thumbs down. It was horrible. Like there's no other way to say it. It just was not at all who I've been as a leader, or who I've been as a consultant for over 14 years. So I just kept looking at that. I was like, yeah, I should work on that. But I didn't do anything about it until February. And so I did this assessment in January. I usually do it after SFR and then like the beginning of the year. And in January I did, and I was like, that's enough. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you know how to sponsor people. You know how people are still joining. Like, what is your problem, Karen? And I still kind of sat on it for a while. And it was the middle of February, and I said, enough is enough. Like, I'm a no excuses person. And I sat down and why am I not sponsoring? Well, I'm not sponsoring because I'm not trying to sponsor. I'm not having conversations about sponsoring. I'm not, it's not even a priority for me. So if I were to think of the 5 most important things for me in my business, what I would tell a new consultant was sponsoring is definitely one of them if they want to become a leader. But it wasn't even on my top 5 list. I mean, I had like mentoring my frontline, mentoring my leaders, like providing the best possible customer service, like upping my social game, all sorts of things. But sponsoring, not even on the list. So I thought that has to change. And that is where I had a major mindset shift the middle of February. The problem with my sponsoring, quite honestly, it was me. You know, guys know that song, like, I'm the problem, it's me. I was the problem. Like, I could tell you my life is crazy. I could tell you like my son was going to have another brain surgery. I could tell you all the things, but those are just things. Like I had told myself, well, you know, we're coming out of hyper growth. We're in normalization. People are back to life. They don't want to join. But really, the only variable was I was not making it a priority. And so I had to shift my mindset. So mid-February, I shifted my mindset. And the results since then have been really, really significant for me. I wrote, let me grab, hold on. I wrote down kind of what my numbers were. So you can see now in the beginning, when I joined, I was a really consistent recruiter. In fact, there were months, and this is not a wow factor by any means now. There are people that sponsor like, 20, 40, 60 people a month. I was never that kind of sponsor, like recruiter, right? But like in the beginning, I would sponsor 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 people a month, okay? And like I was a great recruiter. And then over the years, I was consistent and steady. And I'm going to give you my last 4 years. So 2019, I would say, is where the suck began for me. And I sponsored 5 new people. Now, I had a lot of people that reinstated, and I could say, I've got, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of tens of thousands of people in my downline. I could make every excuse why that wasn't a priority because I had all these people to mentor and lead. No, doesn't matter. If you don't keep growing your organization, What if you don't keep growing your frontline? What happens is the day you stop sponsoring, you start to see the end of your business slowly walk backwards. You always have to be sponsoring. And I kind of forgotten that. 2020, I had 6 new recruits. Okay, that's great. That's a lot of people would love to have 6 recruits, but it was not the standard that I was at. And considering especially that 5 of those came in 1 month, so that means the other 11 months of the year, I sponsored 1 person. Okay, and that 5 came the month that you got like the free like shooting star kit if you hit your 500, and they were all on for that. 2021, I did a little better. I sponsored 11. And then 2022, my life was crazy. Like my husband had just had a heart attack. My dad was in the hospital. He passed away. Like it was a crazy, we moved to Colorado part-time. All these things happened. I sponsored 1 person the entire year. And that, and I earned the top level of the incentive trip, but I did it because I had Frontline Promote, right? I didn't even sponsor enough people to have earned the incentive trip on sponsoring points, straight sponsoring points. So that's kind of where I was. So then I had this mindset shift mid-February, and let me tell you what happened. So mid-February, I was like, I'm done making excuses. I have to talk to people, okay? So that was about February 15th, maybe 16th, and I sponsored 5 people in the month of February. Now that's like that's the same number I did all of 2019. In March, we had that $25 kit. Now, I'm not a big fan of the $25 kit, I'll be honest, because I don't think it's much of a vesting or a buy-in. It doesn't really give them everything they need, but it's great for advertising and marketing. Most of the people that joined in March did not take that $25 kit, but I sponsored 14 new consultants in March. Okay. April, I sponsored 4. May started slow. I was quite honestly gone most of the month, traveling, and then my father-in-law passed away. We got home on the 30th. And Dan Orchard at Summit had challenged us to sponsor 3 new people. And it's the last day of the month. And I'm like, oh crap, Dan's going to text me. And I've sponsored 1 person. And so it was probably 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And I thought, that's not how I operate. Like I lead by example. So I started having conversations. I went through my list of people who I knew were interested. That month we had the kit where you got the 3 extra summer bars that were not available. So I started like texting people, messaging people. Hey, I know you were interested in this. This is your last opportunity. So this is like maybe 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. the last day of the month. I had 7 people join by 10:30 that night. And I woke up the next morning and 2 more had joined. So I had 8 recruits in May. June, I recruited 4, and I'm hoping to end this month with 5. Okay, that would be 40 new recruits in 5.5 months. You guys, all I did was shift my mindset. Now I'll tell you a couple things that I said to people or didn't say to people, and but nothing changed. Like I'm not a rock star recruiter. There is nothing special about me or what I say or what I do. I just changed my mindset and realized that I had to get out of my own head and I had to do all the things, right? So that's what I did. Now, disclaimer, are they all doing something with the business? No, of course they aren't. You're never going to get 100%. It's why you have to keep sponsoring, right? You're always going to have some people who do nothing in this business. And I was a kidnapper. I joined for the kit. I wasn't going to do anything with it. And there's a lot of kidnapper SSDs. So I don't ever give up on anyone, but I will meet them where their interest is. Now, so I did about 7 things immediately when I decided I was the problem and I had to get out of my head. So I'm going to tell you what they were. I think it's 7. I didn't count them, but first of all, I took a good look at my customer base. And I'm an annual sales earner. I sell well and I sell consistently, but my customer base was getting a little bit stale, to be honest. I had, during COVID, I got really comfortable not meeting anyone new, not leaving why would you even leave your house? I could have groceries delivered. I could have DoorDash. I could get Target by Shipt. I didn't have to go anywhere, right? So I got really used to not talking to people or meeting people. And a lot of us have Zoom fatigue, right? So you got to a point like you didn't even want to meet people on Zoom. So I looked at my customer base and I knew I needed to meet new people. You can only ask the same customers to do the same thing so many times. You can provide amazing customer service to them and they'll keep buying from you. They might refer people to you. But if you want to grow your customer base, your sales, find new hosts, if you want to sponsor new people, you have to meet new people. That's the only, I mean, there's no, it's just the way it is. So I need to do that. Now, we'd also moved to Colorado, kind of like half-time moved to Colorado during this time frame. And I knew a couple people here, like my neighbor growing up lived here, like one of my neighbors when we were in the full active duty in the military lived nearby. I knew a few people, but I didn't know many. So I decided that I was going to force myself to meet new people. This is exactly what I would tell a new recruit to do. Nobody wants to buy. Well, your customer base probably isn't wide enough. You need to meet new people. So I decided I had to practice what I preach. So I did it with things that were of interest to me. And what's of interest to me won't be of interest to you. Okay. But I did some very simple things, like my sorority has an alumni group in the Denver area. So I joined it. My oldest went to Duke, and Duke has this awesome alumni program for parents and family members. So it's not just for the one that went to Duke, but it's for everyone. So we joined the local Denver Duke family, and they do like, basketball games, and they do all sorts of super fun stuff. Great way to meet people. I love plants. I love to propagate plants and grow plants. Flowers are actually kind of my love language. And so I joined some local plant groups. There's a lady who owns a little plant shop, and she does some super fun classes. Now, a lot of the stuff I already know, but it's super fun because you get to go and meet new people, right? My husband's retired military and he's combat injured. So we joined some of the local wounded warrior groups so we could meet people. There's actually a local, it sounds so weird. There's a local boss babes group that is like entrepreneurial women who are, growing business. I joined them. And I joined a local book club, which is actually mostly business building. I volunteered, just things like that. Not because I am wearing a Scentsy shirt every time I do this and want to talk to them all about Scentsy, but so I can legitimately build relationships and meet people. So that's that's number one. So I would ask you, what interests you? Because obviously you probably don't want to join my sorority alumni group, right? But what interests you? Because that's where you want to look to meet people. And then I upped my social strategy. Now, years ago, full disclaimer, home office asked me to speak about Instagram. I think it was a booth, like an expo booth at SFR. And I was like, Sarah Walker, you have not even looked at my Instagram because I've posted 2 times on it ever. You do not want me to talk about Instagram. But I started getting more consistent, especially with my business Facebook group and that kind of thing. And that has made a huge difference in the algorithms for me. They're nothing incredible. I do try and use a lot of real life pictures, but I'm not a social expert. I'm not even on the if you were to line up all the social pro SSDs, I'd be pretty far to the end. But simply by upping my game with consistency has made a huge difference in finding people finding me, people wanting to join, people wanting to buy. I would say probably 10 out of those almost 40 people who have joined have found me on social media. Okay. So, and that's not, it's 25%, but it's 25% more than I would have had. Okay. Number 3, I shifted my focus to sponsoring. And what I mean by that is it literally became my focus. Yes, I want people to buy and I want people to host, right? Because I want to earn annual sales. I want to earn incentive trips, but my focus is sponsoring. And so I want people to partner with Scentsy and I want them to start their own business. I did change my verbiage. I don't say, do you want to join? Sometimes I'll say, do you want to start your own Scentsy business? Have you ever thought about starting your own Scentsy business? But more than anything, I say, do you want to partner with Scentsy? That's much more of an influencer verbiage, right? Do you want to join? We are not a sorority. We are not a club. So I don't really say that anymore. So, but I shifted my focus. And so, for example, when someone would say to me something like, hey, I'm going to go broke. I had someone say this last month. I'm going to go broke. I just bought this from you and I want to get this and I'm going to go broke. And I simply said, have you ever thought about doing this? You should really sell. You love the product. And she said, how much is the kid? And I said, well, 59 this way or 99 this way. And 20 minutes later, she joined. Before I would have said, you're right. And the economy sucks. You should host a party and earn some rewards. But I was like, you want to join? And she joined. So just conversations like that. And I started talking to people. And I really mean it. I wasn't talking to people. And I want you to understand, I don't mean in a pushy way. Like, I don't want you to join unless you want to join. I don't want you to join unless you think this is a good fit for you. I don't want you to waste your money, and I don't want you to waste my time. I understand there's a place for everyone in this business. And so if they want to join to buy for themselves or it's a hobbyist, that's fine. But I will not arm twist or talk anyone into joining. Like, it's what's in it for them, not what's in it for me. But I wasn't talking to people. So if you guys, I thought I had the Mary Christensen book. Mary Christensen years ago used to talk about Bengal bracelets, and she would put 3 bracelets on one wrist, and then when she talked to 3 people, she would move them one at a time to the other wrist. Okay. I now have done that exercise with some of my leaders, but at the time I wasn't doing 3 bracelets from one wrist to the other, but like psychologically I was. If you talk to 3 people a day, even just to grow your business, and I don't mean like in the grocery store, hey, do you want to join my team? I don't mean like in a sleazy way. I mean, if you have like 3 conversations with people or with customers or whatever the case may be, 3 times 30 is 90. That's 90 in a month, right? That's a lot. Okay, so let me give you an idea of a couple people that I've talked to that I totally would not have before. And then it was super fun on the way home from SFR. I watched Rachel Pence do this on the airplane because she was kitty corner from me. And I watched her have this whole conversation. And afterwards, she's like, I totally wouldn't have done that if we hadn't talked about it at Summit, right? But I wasn't talking to people. So we took Fiji for the incentive trip. And it was great. It was amazing. Ironically, most of the people at the Marriott in Fiji were from the US or Australia. Well, the good news is we're open for business in both places. So like, I'm in the pool, we're there a day early. We're a really small group anyways. I'm in the pool, I'm talking to this lady from Texas, and she's a realtor. And she's like, tell me how much she loves Fiji. She goes like to Fiji 4 times a year, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I need your life. I should go 4 times a year. But we're talking, she's like, well, why are you here? I'm like, oh, Scentsy incentive trip. Oh my gosh, Scentsy, really? I was like, yeah, do you use it for closing gifts, right? And she's like, I never thought about that. That's a great idea. And I was like, oh, we can talk about that. Let's make it happen. And then over the course of the conversation, we talked about how it would be a great fit for her to join, even just so the realtors in her office could buy. I never would have had that conversation. And it was over a fruity drink in the pool. It wasn't a pressure, conversation. I was on a plane last weekend, and my mom lives in suburban Chicago. So I flew to Chicago for her 75th birthday, left Saturday, came back Sunday, was really tired. My flight was delayed on the way home. And I was bumped to first class on the way there, which was awesome. Like, I always love a free bump to first class. And on the way back, I was in the window seat of the last aisle of the plane, right? So from the front of the plane to the back. And I was tired and cranky because we were late. And this guy sits next to me, and he's like, so my husband's kind of an outdoorsy guy, and I would kind of describe this guy that way. Like, he could have just like come out of the field hunting or fishing or something. He just kind of had that look, and he's like got a backpack, and he's, that's all of his luggage. And I'm like going to go to sleep because it's a 10 p.m. flight, and he's apparently going to talk, right? And so we start talking. He's an attorney in Colorado, and we start talking about similarities and whatever. And at the end, and like, he owns land in Montana, which my husband would love to go hunt. And he wants to learn to goose hunt for my husband and duck hunt. So we're having this conversation. At the end, he's like, hey, do you have a business? You mentioned you had a card you'd give me. So I give him my card. He's like, Scentsy, are you serious? My wife loves Scentsy, and we can't find anyone here to buy from. Well, hello, I can help you with that. His wife also needs something to do with her time, and she loves Scentsy, and she's bored because she doesn't know anyone in the area. So she's a perfect join. But those are 2 conversations. Oh, and then my husband today, he comes back from getting his haircut. He's like, hey, did you get a call from Julie yet? I'm like, who's Julie? Is this your girlfriend I don't know about? Like, who's Julie? Where'd you meet Julie? And he's like, at a sports clip, she cut my hair. And I was like, no, Julie hasn't called me. Like, why is she calling me? And he's like, oh, she wants to join. She lives in Greeley. She lives kind of local to me. She can't even find a consultant, and she wants to join. I'm like, okay. And then he says to me, real smart mouth, so did you sponsor anyone today? And I'm like, no, jerk, I didn't. But so just those are conversations I wasn't having before. It's super simple. It's no pressure. It's low pressure. I'm just talking to people. The other thing that I started to do is, this is so old school, I remade my list of 100. Like, who do I think would be good at this? Okay. And I did not have 100 names to put on it to start with. So I had to kind of go back and keep working it. I'm also, as I said, I've kind of gone to, you're partnering with Sensi. I'm having lots of conversations. If someone says, I wish I could afford that, before I would have said, as I mentioned, oh, I know the economy is tough. Like, why don't you host? But now I'm like, and I try again to be really low pressure. So I don't know if this is a good fit for you, because it's not right for everyone, but have you ever thought about doing this? Like, you could earn some money. And I refuse to close out a party without a host. Like, so if that host does not want to join, that's fine, but I'm going to ask them who they think would be great at it. And I also have a list of people who would like that $59 kit if they don't. So Rachel Field is a superstar director in my downline, and she told me years ago, she's a pro sponsor. Like, she's so good. She's my go-to anytime I need someone to talk on sponsoring. She tells her people, she says, I'm going to, and she says it really low pressure, but she says, I think you'd be great at this. So I'm going to keep asking you to join or to partner, or whatever term you want to use. I'm going to keep asking you till you tell me not to. And maybe a few people tell her no, but for the most part, they don't tell her not to. But when she stops asking, they actually get offended, and they're like, hey, why'd you stop asking me to join? Do you not think I'd be good at this anymore? And they kind of get worked up and offended. So it works really well for her. As I said, I don't want to pressure anyone. So I will tell you this, you're all overthinking sponsoring. I don't know that many people. Yes, you do. Or you need to get out and build some relationships. Talk to anyone and everyone. Please don't be spammy. Please don't. I'm not telling you to walk up and down the grocery store, candle aisle, late aisle, and hand out your card. I'm not telling you to do any of those things. I'm telling you, just have real conversations and build real relationships. But the change has to come in here. You have to believe you can build a team. You have to believe people want to join. You have to you have to have the mindset shift, because for me, I was the problem. 100%. I was the problem. And as soon as I came to that realization and decided to make a shift and a change, it all changed. So just a couple more things super quick. I do try to get them off to a quick start. I try to do a launch party for them within 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. Usually that's a social launch party, because the people I'm sponsoring are all over the country. I use Hannah Hall and Yvonne Gritton's Facebook parties. It's kind of a mesh of the two. I don't use Visly. I actually split my screen or use two screens, and I drag and carry from my last party to my next and schedule the whole thing out. That's number one. Number two, I do have, some people that are kidnappers or just want to buy from themselves. And so what I say to them, Becca Levi years ago used to say, and most of you probably know Callie. You don't know Callie. You probably don't know Becca Levi anymore as much. But what Becca used to say, and Becca's Callie's mom, is she used to say, will you just commit to working with me for 6 months? Like, oh, that's all I want is 6 months, just 6 months. So, but I kind of flip it a little bit different. And I say, like, I know that this is your intention. I know that you just want to buy from yourself and maybe a few friends, but, we're like 6 months from Christmas, or 4 months from back to school, or 6 months from your spring break trip to wherever, whatever the case may be. And I say, can we just partner between now and then and see how much money we can earn you for Christmas? Can we work together and see how much money we can earn you for that trip you're taking, or whatever that need is that I know that they have? And pretty much nobody says no. So they're willing to kick off their business. They're willing to try and grow it, that kind of thing. Is it 100% successful? No, of course not. But really, we have so overcomplicated this, and we've so gotten in our head, and this is not, we just have to go back to the basics. When I went back to the basics and, shifted my mindset, it all changed. I always tell my kids, they hate this. You can't get upset about the results you don't get for the work you don't do. And I was getting frustrated that I wasn't getting results, but I was putting zero work into it. Okay. And even if I'd exhausted everyone out there, I have the ability to go out and meet new people. Like there are no limits on this business. We don't have any territories. We don't have any restrictions. I mean, we do have some international restrictions, right? But you can go out and meet new people. If something isn't working for you, it's time to change it and pivot. It's when I made that mindset shift, and my sales were good too. I've always been a consistent seller, but when I made that mindset shift, not only did my sponsoring improve, I have people contacting me for fundraisers, to host parties. And in June, now granted, last June wasn't my strongest sales month, but my personal sales last month were 600% higher than last June. So 600% of June 2022. I had 53 customers that wanted to pre-order. When I say pre-order, they contacted me and let me know in advance they wanted something. That's what I mean. But Lilo and Stitch. And I've never had that kind of response to like a Disney LTO. I'm not a really big Disney person. So, but what happens is when you start to see that positive momentum, everything in your business snowballs. And it's like it becomes contagious and people are drawn to you. So my challenge to you would be pretty simple. Number one, take a good look at where your mind is right now. Do you believe you can do this? Do you really want to do it? And do you need to make a mental shift, right? Are you the problem? Because I was. Number two, I would challenge you to find a new avenue, a new interest, something that you're doing, a new way to meet people. It doesn't have to, you don't have to show up on Saturday morning somewhere, right? But find some new way to meet people. And number three, I would challenge you to start talking to people. Just casual, just shift when someone wants to buy, shift it to join. Take their money, take their sale. Don't get me wrong if they don't want to, but look at the big picture. The big picture really where you're going to have long-term growth is from sponsoring. We made we made bracelets at a leadership retreat I did in May. And we made 3 of them. And, with those clay beads, like they're the cute bracelets people. Okay. So we did them and I challenged them to 3 conversations and to move from one wrist to the other, like super old school, like I was talking about. And one of my leaders had 3 people join from the first 3 conversations she had. She just wasn't talking to people. So I know it's not just me. I know it does work. So that would be my challenge to you. And thanks for letting me come chat with you guys.
I'm like literally writing as fast as I can. And I'm like, slow down, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, this is such a good fresh perspective, I think, of sponsoring too, because I have the way that I sponsor and our leaders are kind of set in their ways and how they sponsor. Yep. When you can really take a step back and say, one, yeah, it has to be that I'm the problem if I'm not getting the results that I want. Yep. Because your effort is going to match your results, especially in this business. Does anyone have any questions? Do you have anything? Eric's just like, this is good. This is good.
So, and like, okay, so like my husband who is, like he's my sounding board for most things.
Yes.
But like he has like, as a woman, I have a very different perspective than he does. Like I get in my head, I like, I get butthurt when people don't, whatever. And he's just like, just do it. Like, so what? Who cares? Just do it. Right. And I think it is just a perspective. Like he doesn't care. He doesn't care if people say it. No, I don't really want to, or whatever, he doesn't get upset about things like that. He just like, he can pivot so much easier than sometimes I can. And I think that's a mindset shift. I had to go back to all of that. And I did it really well in the beginning, and I don't know why I changed, but it's amazing. And because it's happening month over month, I know it wasn't a one-time fluke for me, so I'm excited about fall.
Yeah, what I was really saying was the part I loved was don't overthink it and like just have those casual conversations with people. Yeah. Like the conversations will generate from there.
Like people will say, like, do you have a script? Can you share a script? No, I don't have a script. Like just speak. Like what my script wouldn't work for you, and I don't have a script. I just listen to what people are saying and figure out how this business will work for them.
Yeah. The only thing I would add that might help people is help me when I was recruiting for the Army. Is when somebody tells you no, their kind of defense goes down from there. So then you can actually have a real conversation with them from that point forward.
Yeah. And two, I think that when sponsoring was so high in our hyper growth, like people were looking for us, and now we're looking for them. And I think that has to be a huge mindset shift with us too, where we're saying like, when's the last time you like had a genuine conversation with someone where it led to that? Because you're actually sitting there and talking to them about what you do and what your life is, right? So I just love it because it's so simple, right? I
It
love
is. It's so simple. Yeah.
like
But we overcomplicate it. Yeah.
Strategic though, you're putting yourself in the
Yes.
right position to have those conversations.
Right.
Yep.
yeah.
And you have to meet new people in some way, shape, or form. If you're doing home parties, great, meet them at home parties. If you're doing fundraisers, events, great. But a lot of people aren't doing those things, you know? So you have to still find a way to meet new people.
Yeah, because a lot of in our hypergrowth, when people came on, they were doing everything right here. Everything was through this, and that was fine.
Yeah.
But now that we're actually getting out, actually having those conversations and meeting, I just love it. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Can't say thank you enough.
Of course, anytime.
All the comments, they're blowing you up saying thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.